All right, Hope, let's stand on our feet this morning. We are gathered to worship, and we're going to do just that.
Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, your perfect love is casting out fear. Even when I'm caught in the middle of the storms of this life, I'm looking back, I know you are near. And I will be a believer. Oh, my God is great. If my God is great, who shall I fear? Who shall I fear? No, you never let go. Through the calm, through the storm. Oh, no, you never let go. Every high, every low. Oh, no, you never let go. Oh, you never let go of me. What's coming? Of a hard battle drum. Always like the unbroken thread. Never be there to the struggles, like scared they promise. And yet to do you here on the earth. And I will be a believer. Oh, my God is great. My God is great. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? Oh, no, you never let go. Through the storm, through the storm. Oh, no, you never let go. Every high, every low. No, no, you never let go. No, you never let go of me. I can see the light that's coming on the heart that holds on. Never be there in the trouble. I can feel that they come. Yeah. Still I will praise you. Still I will praise you. Oh no, you never let go. Through the calm, through the storm. Oh no, you never let go. Every high, every low. Oh no, you never let go. No, you never let go of me. Oh no, you never let go. Through the calm, through the storm. Oh no, you never let go. Every high, every low. Oh no, you never let go. No, you never let go of me. No, you never let go of me. No, you never let go of me.
Amen. Good morning, Hope.
Good morning.
Thank you all so much for coming and joining us here today. If this is your first time here at Hope, thank you so much for coming. We're so glad you're here. Take the opportunity to sit back and relax and worship as you feel comfortable. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to ask somebody sitting nearby you. Here at Hope, we're all friends and family. Make sure you look in your bulletin and the ministry table to check out other things that we have going on here at Hope besides what I'm going to talk about. You don't want to miss out on anything. In your bulletin, there is also a communication card. Fill that out so that we know you were here. And if there's any way that we can pray for you, you can put that on the back of that card as well. Our Hope Youth Ministries are offered during the 10 o'clock and this 11:30 celebration. There's details about that in your bulletin. A women's group called Walking with Jesus Through Codependency will begin in September. Stop by the ministry table to get the information about that. Our semester of growth group starts today.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to ask you if you guys were excited. That makes me so happy. So if you've never been a part of a growth group before, it's a small 1-hour group that meets throughout the week in people's homes here at the church. It's a great opportunity to get connected and to form relationships with other members here at Hope. The growth groups help fulfill our purpose here at Hope. It's a great opportunity to get connected. I promise you will absolutely love it. If you find one and it's not the right fit for you, there's others. They're throughout the week. The list of them is on the back of your bulletin, and there's sign-up sheets on the ministry table. If for some reason you can't find the information you're looking for in any of those places, ask someone with the shirt on. There's 4 of us here right now. Ask us, we're more than happy to answer any of your questions about the groups for you. We're gonna have a short meet and greet. So take just a minute and say good morning to those around you and ask somebody what group they're a part of.
My group.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Hi, how you doing? Good, I'm glad you're here. I'm good. Morning, guys.
Hello, my friends.
Oh, really? Hey, buddy. How are you? I'm here. Amen.
Until the day was told, the moment that Lord was born, He gives heart once and for all. Let's join our voices, captivated, captivated. But no longer will I shame, lifted in every way. The Spirit is taking root. I remember, let's sing it out. All of creation, in all of creation, sing with me now. Lift up your voice and bring your voice down. In all of creation, sing with me now. Lift up the earth and glory. And we see His face to face. Every time rains, forever we will worship the King. Because creation, sing with me now. Lift up your voice and make your voice down. All the creation, sing with me now. Fill up the heavens and let His glory be found. Oh, 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 it's your King of glory. We love you. Sing with me now. Lift up your voice and make your burden down. All the creation, sing with me now. You fill up the heavens and glory return. All the creation, sing with me now. Lift up your voice and make your burden down. All the creation, sing with me now.
Thank you, Jesus. As we're gathered here this morning to worship, we worship in song, we worship in prayer, we worship in teaching and fellowship. And at this time, as we worship and we cry out with our voices, let's sing about the amazing love of our awesome God.
I'm forgiven because you were forsaken. I'm accepted. You were content. And I'm alive and well. The Spirit is within me. Because you died and rose.
Let's join our voices and sing together.
I'm forgiven because you were forsaken. I'm accepted. You were content. I'm alive and well. Spirit is within me. Because you died and rose again.
Amazing love.
Amazing love. Can't be. You, my King, who died for me. Amazing love. It's my joy. We all have to.
Let's sing it out. I'm forgiven.
I'm forgiven because you were forsaken. I'm accepted because you were condemned. I'm alive and well. The Spirit is within me because you died and rose again. Amazing love, can't be. You, my King, who died for me. Amazing love, true. It's my joy in all I do.
Let's lift our voices to Jesus. Tell him.
Jesus, you are my King. Jesus, you are my King. Amazing love, can't be. You, my King, who died for me. Amazing love, true. It's my joy in all amazing love, can't be. You, my King, who died for me. Amazing love, true. It's my joy in all I do. Oh,
Let's sing that together.
in all I do. Oh,
Amen. As we sing out and our praises lift toward the sky. We open our hearts and we invite the Holy Spirit to be here with us. Holy Spirit, come and move among us. Open our hearts. Let us hear what you have for us as we sing to our King. There's nothing worth more that would ever come close. Nothing can compare. You're unwavering hope. Your presence, Lord. I've tasted and seen of the sweetest of love. When my heart becomes free and the shame is undone. Your presence, Lord. Let's lift our voices together as we sing. Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, you are welcome. Come out this place and fill the atmosphere. Your glory, God, is what our hearts long for. To be overcome by your presence, Lord. There's nothing worth more that would ever come close. Nothing can compare. You're in your presence, Lord. I've tasted and seen of the sweetest of love. When my heart becomes free and my shame is undone. In your presence, Holy Spirit, you are welcome. Come out this place and fill the atmosphere. Your glory, God, is what our hearts long for. To be overcome by your presence, Lord. Trust is without borders, and we walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith would be made stronger in the presence of my Savior.
Spirit, you and my trust you without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger, stronger, stronger. Come flood this place and fill the atmosphere. Your glory, God, is what our hearts long for. To be overcome by your presence,
Amen. Through this next song, the ushers will come forward and pass out communion. We serve a God who loves us so much, there's nothing that he would not do for us. And as we take communion as a family and as individual children of God, we turn our focus to the cross, to the greatest display of love this world has ever seen. We turn our attention to the man who freely gave his life, not by anything that we did, but by who he is, how much he loves us. There is no requirement to take communion, but the belief in your heart that Jesus is your Savior. And as we take communion this morning, I pray that you take it when you feel comfortable, that you have a moment with your Creator and your Savior. Feel free to leave your communion cups wherever you're seated. They will be picked up after the service. Take this time and remember our Savior, Jesus. The splendor of the King, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, then darkness tries to hide, then trembles at his voice, trembles at his voice. How great is our God, sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great is our God.
great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. Let all that see how great, how great is our God. You're the name of all names. You are worthy of all praise. And my heart will sing, how great is our God. You're the name of all names. And you are worthy of all praise. And my heart will sing, how great is our God. You are great. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. And all that see how great is our God.
God, you are so great. As we sing about your greatness, Lord, we dedicate this time to you. I encourage you, Hope, to stand as we sing about the greatness of our God, about the love that he gives us, about the hope that he offers. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, and you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you, Lord. You can light, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs,
So we pour out our praise to you always. You're in our lives. So we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your in our lives. So we pour out praise to you always. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. Lift your voices and sing it out. So the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. We sing you, Jesus. So the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Amen.
Hey, Hope Church, 3rd service. You glad to be here today? Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for being here. I'll tell you, this 3rd service, maybe catching the second. I don't know. We'll see what's happening. But thank you all for your commitment. I flew in to SAC Friday after training a team last week that's getting ready to plant a church in San Luis, Brazil. It's the northern part of Brazil, beautiful place. And they, a couple weeks before that, I was on a cruise in Bermuda. I don't have any point, I just want to drop that out there. I was in Bermuda a couple weeks ago. But after that, came home sick with a stuff in my chest. It's still there a little bit, but it's a lot better. And went to teach this team, and it really touched my heart because they have all kinds of training, but this group for 21 years has asked me to come a few months right before they launch, and they locked the doors and just let me cut loose about evangelism, helping people, reaching out. And so I talked a lot about you guys and what God's doing here, and it was a real blessing, but it was good to get back. I flew back, and I get on planes a lot, and boats, And then I flew to Sac and drove home. I was so tired Friday, so good to be home. See my two blondes, Tracy and Bassa are gone, Barbarian. But then yesterday morning, we got up and we thought, let's go to breakfast. So we went to breakfast, and then you ever eat a big breakfast and you kind of feel like laying down again? I was kind of tired, so I laid on the couch. Tracy let me kind of take it easy, and then we decided to get, to get busy and do something. So we went to the gym because our gym has a pool. So we laid by the pool, really working out, at the gym. And then came home, barbecued. I went to bed really early. And last night, I dreamed we were all on a big boat. It was like a big pirate ship boat. And it was Hope Church. All of us were on the boat. No kidding. It was one of those dreams that was so real. And we were in charge of the entertainment. And we're in this big hall, and we're doing music and all this stuff. And then I got the tech guys, our tech team, to change the lighting in the boat. And so they started making some really cool lighting in the boat. Well, then the word came out that the captain and his crew were mad at us for changing the light. And then some women at Hope were mad at me and were getting on to me to do something about it. I won't say any names who the women were, but then I go to the captain, and I'm like real afraid, and it seems so realistic, and I'm apologizing. And then I woke up, and I had no idea where I was. It was 5:48 this morning. I was feeling around, and I'm home, and it's so good to be home. And it's so good to be with you, Hope Church. I'm living a dream being a part of this church. Let me ask you a question. How would you complete this sentence? My number one goal in life is. What's the most important thing to you? Is it to be happy? Would you say my number one goal in life is to succeed in my career? It's comfort. It's to have fun, enjoy life. It's to retire. My number one goal is to get married or to raise a family or to be well-known, popular, or well-liked. This is an important question to think about because it's your dominant life principle or your dominant life value that drives you. Everybody has one. Even if you don't think about it and talk about it, you have a value that's the most important to you, and you use it all the time. Every time you have to make a decision, you have to make a choice. You access data in your brain and make a decision based on your dominant life principle or value. Like if you have a couple options to go out, to go somewhere, if your dominant value is to have fun, you'll choose the invitation that sounds the most fun. If your dominant life value is to be comfortable, you'll choose the easiest thing, the most convenient thing, which may be staying home and laying on the couch. If it's safety, you'll choose the safest, the most secure. Security is what drives you. If it's to be approved and to be affirmed, you'll choose the place where you're going to be affirmed by others. It's important to think through this question. What's the most important value in your life? And you could ask, well, does God have an important value for our life? The most important value? And the answer is yes. And that's what this series we're entering in today is born out of. In 1 Corinthians 14:1, God says this through Paul, let love be your greatest aim. Your greatest aim. Not status, not success, not possessions, not power, not privilege, not prestige, not comfort, not money. Your number one life value is to be loved. Why would he say the highest aim for us human beings is love? Because God is love. God is love, and he wants you and I to be like him. I love my dog, and I think she's going to go to heaven. But human beings are the only part of creation that's created in the image of God, and we're to grow and be like God. And so you find verses like where it says, as dearly beloved children of God, love. And so we're the children of God called to be like him, and God is love. He is love. God created everything in the universe out of love. Think about that. He created everything in the universe out of love. So why doesn't he just zap us into heaven? Why are we left here for 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or some more years in a world of sin and suffering and sorrow and sadness and problems and pressure and stress? It's to learn to love. Life is all about learning to love. One time Jesus was walking down the street, And he was asked by somebody trying to trick him, what's the most important command in the Bible? And we talk about this a lot here at Hope. It's called the Great Commandment. You have it in Matthew, you have it in Mark. In Mark's account, Jesus says this in Mark 12, 30 and 31, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. And then he says, love your neighbor as yourself. There are no commands more important than these. Nothing in the Bible is more important than love. If you get these two things, Jesus says, you got it. That is why you're on the planet. Everything else is excess. It's secondary. It says in Scripture to make love your highest aim, your greatest aim. We saw in that verse. As we go through life, it doesn't matter how much we acquire. It doesn't matter how much we achieve. It doesn't matter what we accomplish, what our rewards are, how famous we are. None of that really, really matters. You know, I've written several books. They're not in print yet, but they're in my mind, and they're good books. Someday, maybe, you know. And I've achieved some things, and got some plaques here and there. You know, my kids don't care about that. They don't care if I ever write a book. They don't care what the awards are. They want to know, do I love them? Do I love them? And that's the number one aim of life. One day, you and I are going to stand before God, and He's going to ask us, did you learn to love me? That's why I sent Jesus to die, my best, the only one of his kind. Monogenes is the Greek word. It's where the words in the Old King James, the only begotten, he sent his very best because God so loved the world, he sent his best. Did you learn about love, loving me? Did you learn how to love people after loving me? That's why I put you on earth. It's all about love. So we're going to do this series. I do lots of series. You may have noticed if you've been around. I like to do 6 to 8 week series. If you go too long, people are like, okay. But if you go too short, you're moving on. And we are in this information age where people love, we have access to information so fast. And I think sometimes we try to smorgasbord God. We just jump to this and jump to that and jump to discipleship is making decisions and taking time to really contemplate and drive down some roots of conviction. So I like to do a series of 6 to 8, and I like them all. We're going to do a purpose-driven life one next. But this series, I've never been more excited about a series than this one, studying for this, because it's the most important thing. I don't think there's anything more important than learning to love God and love people. And we say we're here to build relationships that last forever, so we should be doing some work at relationship building, and that's what this series is going to help. 1 Corinthians 16:14 from the New Living Translation, listen to this. Everything you do must be done with love. Everything? You know what the Greek word for everything means? Everything. Emails? Yes. Everything. Maybe we need to put this verse on our monitor. Ordering fast food from someone that doesn't speak English very good. Everything you do must be done out of love. Finding a parking spot when 2 or 3 other people are trying to get into it. Everything we do must be done out of being nice to people who vote differently than us. Everything you do must be done with love. Responding to people who attack our faith. Everything you do must be done out of love. So we're going to memorize this verse. My goal in this series is transformation. It is not head knowledge. It is transformation. In fact, I'm praying, and I really believe it's possible, that this series could be so awesome, we will look back one day in history and we will mark that time and say, that was the time we grew. Not just numerically. Y'all know me, I'm into just one more, and I want to grow, but I'm talking about personal, spiritual growth of the individual members. I believe it's possible. We're going to start right now transforming our mind from this verse. 1 Corinthians 16:14. Everything you do must be done with love. Now, we're going to memorize it. Well, here's a good rule of memorization. One of the hardest things about memorization is remembering where the verse is. How many verses do you know where you don't remember exactly where they are, right? I can do all things through Christ. And so a good thing to do is say the reference. Sometimes people call it an address to help you remember where it's located, the address or the reference. Before, then you say the verse, and then you say the reference again. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to say that out loud together. You ready? 1 Corinthians 16:14. Everything you do must be done with love. 1 Corinthians 16:14. Let's do it again. 1 Corinthians 16:14. Everything you do must be done with love. 1 Corinthians 16:14. We're going to transform in this series. We're beginning a journey today. It's 40 days. It's 6 weeks of messages on the weekend service and then applying it during the week in our growth groups. And I hope you'll get a growth group. And it's okay to shop around until you find one that you fit. Everybody is different. Even though our groups are all studying the same material, leaders are all different, the dynamics different, and we're not into telling people where to go. So feel free to shop around, but find a group. And we're going to go through these small groups during the week, and we're going to go through these messages on the weekend, and we're going to grow, and the most important thing there is love. Now, you can go to a 24-volume encyclopedia and look up the word love to get a definition of love. And there's not a single article on the definition of love. You can go look up the word love and it says, quote, see emotion and sex. So you can go look up the word emotion and you'll find an article on emotion, a long, long article using the word love only one time, and it doesn't define what love is. So if you go and you look up the word sex, you'll find 3 pages of an article on sex. But still, it doesn't, it has 5 sentences with love, but again, no definition of love. What's the point? We know more about sex than we know about true love. And we call things love stories or love songs or love poems, and they really aren't love stories, love songs, love poems. They're not really about love. They're about sex or they're about lust. If we have lyrics of things like, I'm in love with your body, and now my bed sheets smell like you, that's not love, that's lust. Lust doesn't want to wait to get what it wants. Love will wait. And love isn't just about getting, it's about giving and denying self. And it's a choice. And so some of our love songs are really lust songs in our culture. So what is love? I've been researching love since I got married 38 years ago. I've been learning about love. And I've been preaching, and it's a big subject in the Bible, so you got to deal with it. So I've been studying it a long time, and now I'm more intensely researching love. I'm really excited about this material. In fact, you could call me during this series the love doctor if you want to, okay? The doctor of love this for 40 days, and you can do that. And we're going to study. We're preparing today. Today's really the preparation message for the 40 days. It's the preparation for the next 6 weeks, and we're kicking off this series today with the basics of love. This is Love 101, okay? This is what love is. And we're setting it up for what we'll be looking at during the weekends and our weekend messages, and then what we'll be discussing together in our small groups, in our growth groups during the week. And what we're doing in the next 40 days is about love. So here's the basics. First one is, we love because God loves us. I didn't understand that when I first read this verse years ago, but I understand it more now. Love comes from God. 1 John 4:7-8. Love comes from God, for God is love. See, God, it doesn't say God has love. It says God is love. He wants you to love because that's his character. It's who he is. He wants you to be like him, and he is the source of love. If God wasn't love, there would be no love in the universe. Love is in the universe because of the creator God. 1 John 4:19, we love because God first loved us. He took the initiative. He is first in everything. He showed us love. He sent Jesus to die for you and me, showing love. He created you and me. He gave you the gift of life. That's his love. God's love is the gift of life. And some people you meet that are really down on themselves. If I could just love God more, if I could just love, and they're on a major guilt trip. They're carrying around this load of guilt. God's mad at them. If they could just get it right, and they say things like, my problem is I don't love God enough. If I could just love God more, then I would do better. I just don't love God. No, the problem is you don't realize how much God loves you. His love is extravagant, it's irresistible, it's unconditional. And when you realize that, you have to love him back. This took me a while to learn this. A lot of us grew up in legalism, and it's about what we do. And we're in this conditional relationship. But when I found out that there's nothing I can do to make God love me more, nothing I can do to make him love me less, and the things that I do wrong, that I sin are screwing me up, or they hurt me, or they hurt others, but it's not about me trying to earn God's love. If I let go of some of those things, I can get some healing and have a better destiny, but it doesn't change God's love for me. If you can understand the love of God, you could not love God. People who don't like to serve God, or complain about serving God, or serve out of obligation, still haven't got it. If you understand how God loves you, you love to serve. And you don't care how it is you serve. You just love to serve because God is love. That's why we're doing this series for 40 days, for the love of God. People putting themselves down don't know the love of God. People not healing in their heart need the love of God. Deep down, we all need love. Some of us have scabs on our heart because parents let us down, or a spouse let us down, or something happened in our life or our family, and we have these scabs and we have this hurt, and it's love that will heal that hurt. The love of God will heal that hurt. You know, some people who are really angry when they get stressed, we all can lose it. So, I mean, I'm talking about someone that's just they seem to have so much anger, and it really comes out in stress. It's like toothpaste, you know, you squeeze the tube, and what comes out is what's inside. So people who are constantly angry are people who are hurt, and they need healing. And the healing comes from the love of God. 1 John 4:16, we know and rely on the love God has for us. Notice that word rely. It's one thing intellectually to know. It's another thing to rely. It's time to stop relying on ourselves and start relying on God. It's time to quit relying on what others say, or negativity from our past, or what Satan says through others, and really start relying on God. The next thing about love is a choice and a commitment. Choose to love the Lord your God and commit yourself to him, Moses said, Deuteronomy 30. It's a choice. See, there's this myth that love is uncontrollable. I fell in love, you know, like a ditch. Fell in a ditch. I just fell in love. And then I fell out of love. You see, attraction and arousal are uncontrollable, but they are not love. Attraction and arousal can lead to love, but they are not love. Love is a choice. You choose to love. Next, love is action, not just emotion. It's not emotion, it's action. 1 John 3:18. Let us not love with our words or tongue, but with actions and in truth. See, I believe you can act into a feeling easier than you can feel into an action. When I was a kid, and I'd be out there and I'd do yard work, and there was leaves to rake up, my mom would come out there. You gotta get into it. You gotta get into it. Look, you're outdoors. It's beautiful. Rake those leaves. And I'd start getting into it, and I started feeling better. I was saying that in the first service, and I was looking at my wife, and she's going, how about weed eating? You know, I've got some weeds right now, but it's true. You can act into it. You can get into it. I remember doing the dishes. Get into the dishes. You've got dishes. You've got food. And I'd start washing them. Pretty soon I didn't feel so bad. You know, I didn't feel so bad. It's easier to act into a feeling than to feel into an act. I get a really good feeling from a really good burrito. You know, feelings can fake us out. So waiting to feel loving isn't going to happen. It's a choice, and you got to act into it, the feeling. I've met couples who say, I'm falling out of love. And I've seen people choose to work on it, and you do what you did before, and the love can come back. Remember in Revelation when Jesus said, you've lost your first love? Remember what he said? Repent. You got to repent. Turn in your mind, and then do what you did at first. And I've seen couples do that, and I've seen others not willing to put in the work, not choose, well, I've just lost my love for him or her, and I want to start all over. You know what? They're going to have to learn love all over again, because it doesn't get any better with a different person, because you got the itchy feelings. It's more than a feeling. It is a choice. It is a commitment, and you got to act until the feelings fall. Love is a skill I can learn. That's a cool thing to think about, because some of us didn't grow up with love, and you were abused, or you were abandoned, or we didn't know if we're going to be hugged or slugged at home. But the good news is you can learn a skill. I just spent a week training these kids. Well, they're in their 30s. These kids giving up everything to go start a church, and I trained them the skill of how to lead someone to Christ, and I gave them a method. And those methods are in Portuguese and in Spanish, and I Skyped with one of the guys from Cusco, Peru that I trained a few years ago, that's baptizing people down there, and he talked to them and said, yeah, you can do this, and he talked about the skill. They're learning, you can learn skills. Love is a skill you can learn, even if you come from an unloving background. 1 John 4:7, dear friends, let us practice loving each other, for love comes from God, and those who are loving and kind show that they are the children of God and that they are getting to know him better. It's a growth process. 1 Timothy 4:15, practice these things and devote yourselves to them in order that your progress may be seen by all. So it's a skill you've got to practice. You know, any of you that have done any kind of training, whether it's athletics or weights or career training, repetition is such a part of growth in those areas. Same with love. And then love is a habit. Love is a habit. I love that we're going to do this 40 days. It takes around a month to 40 days of working at something over and over for it to become a part of your life. And it says in Hebrews 13:1, continue to love each other with true Christian love. Luke 6:32, if you only love those who love you, what credit is that? That one kicks my butt a little bit. It's easy to love those who love us, right? But to love those who, Jesus is radical. But we can do it with his help, with spiritual love. That's what we're talking about in this series, a love that's beyond our natural love or how we feel. 2 Corinthians 13:5 from the Message. Listen to this. Test yourselves to make sure you are solid in the faith. Don't drift along, taking everything for granted. Give yourselves regular checkups. You need firsthand evidence, not mere hearsay, that Jesus Christ is in you. Test it out. If you fail the test, do something about it. I love that paraphrase. And really, if you think about it, Christianity is a series of making commitments. Well, we have to do checkups in different areas of our life. And you can do that. You go to a doctor, you assess where you are, your physical health, right? And I want to help you right now do a pre-test as we enter in. This is just preparation for where we're going in this series. And it's all about love pre-test. And now, before you do this, I want to say this isn't about a guilt trip, about feeling guilty. Okay, it's not 40 days of guilt, all right? It's 40 days of love. So be honest with you're at, just so you can kind of see where you're at, and then you can look back later and see if God produces some growth in these relationships, all right? The first one is parents. How is your relationship with your parents? If it's poor, that's 1. Poor. If it's 9, it's great. You know, if someone else is 3 might be a 5 to you. We're not going to check each other out. We're not comparing. But where are you in your love for your parents? Now, for some of us, our parents are dead. But you know what? We can grow in love in our memories for them. We can honor that they brought us here. We can grow in that area, even if they're no longer alive. Then marriage prospects. If you're not married, but you're wanting to be married, how are the relationships with your prospects? Okay? Be honest, poor or great. If you're married, by the way, you can't do this one. Okay? You don't have any prospects. But if you're wanting to get married, now, if you're wanting to get married but you don't have any relationship right now, this series is good because growing in love helps us be more of a catch, right? And you want lovable people, and so this is good for you whether you have a prospect or not if you're single. Just being a single person. Spouse, if you're married, how's it going? Don't write on each other's, okay? But how do you feel like it's going? Be honest. And then relatives, siblings. It could be brother or sister or one of your relatives. How's it going in your family? Co-workers. You know, God's in control, and we are in a setting that we're in, and people are around us, and God puts us to be the light all the time, not on Sunday, but all our life. And how is it, you know, it may be a new coworker in your life, or it may be a struggle that you're seeing. How is it? Be honest with that. Neighbors, you know, we're supposed to love our neighbors. Of course, that's everyone, but we're also put in a context of community. How's it going? Maybe there's some growth that can happen through this series in love for your neighborhood. And then, do you have a difficult one that comes to mind? It could be a family or a friend or someone that even the thinking of them brings hurt feelings. Or talking to them, they don't want to communicate. Maybe this is another one that put down someone's name that you want to pray about and see love grow, the God love grow through this series. And then this is important if you're a parent, children, because you know, I wanted to talk about that too because it's not easy building a family, and it's one of the places we learn about true love. I found this week. I wanted to read to you from a woman who went through a change applying love to her family. She wrote and said, all I seemed to do was nag and bark and scold my kids incessantly. When I looked at myself, I honestly saw a shrew. In my tears, I cried out to God. She was reading 1 Corinthians 13, which is one of the chapters that we're going to look at in this series in our small groups during this 40 days of love. And she says, in reading that, 5 words leaped out at me. Quote, without love, I am nothing. So she wrote those 5 words, without love, I am nothing. She put it on her mirror, she put it on her refrigerator, she put it in her car, on her mirror, and when she would see it, she would see it all the time and keep thinking about it and running it through her mind and heart. And she said, I realized that the single most important thing I could do was to love my family. So I began to live my life by the love of Jesus. I began to run my home on love power. It was transforming as when I accepted Christ into my life. Focusing on love brought the happiness back into my life and into my home. You know, when Jesus was getting ready to go to the cross, he says his last words to his disciples. Think about it. If you're saying goodbye to people you love, you're going to say what matters the most. And look what he says in John 13:35. By this shall all men know that you're my disciples if you have love one to another. He says the mark of the mark of a disciple, the way people, a true believer is spotted, is not by the bumper sticker that's on their car. It's not by a cross around their neck. It's not a fish. It's not a dove. The mark of a disciple is love. Do people know you're a follower of Jesus because you're the most loving person they know? That's my goal for you and for me. That's my goal for this church. I get so fired up thinking about what if we were a church for everybody that comes through those doors. Wow, look how they love each other. It's so powerful. It's like the love of Jesus is oozing out of them. And let me be very blunt. How badly do you want to have better relationships? We say, building relationships forever is our purpose. Well, we should be growing in it then. How badly do you want to become a great lover? How badly, how serious are you about learning to become a loving man or a loving woman? Oh, I'd like to do it in my spare time. Wrong answer. I'd like to do it if it doesn't cramp my style. Not going to happen. I'd like to do it while I'm making a lot of money. No. This has to become your dominant life value. You have to decide right now, today, that the most important thing in your life for the rest of your life is that you are going to learn how to love. And you can learn it. That's what's really cool, is you and I can learn it. We can learn it. And here's some things that we're going to be looking at. I'm just going to quickly go through because this is where we're going in the next 6 weeks. How to become great at relationships. Number 1, you got to commit to growing. If you want to do something and grow in something, you got to make a commitment. Discipleship is commitment. It's the same in every area of our lives. If we want to grow, it doesn't happen. Nothing becomes dynamic until it's specific. You got to specifically say, I am going to grow in love. I'm committing to grow. Secondly, learn how Jesus did it. He's our model, and that's what we're going to do in our small groups. We're going to look at it in this series. How did Jesus grow? Because it's not always the way we feel in our nature, right? Or way the norm of society or what the culture says. So we got to look at him. Then number 3, practice the skills. Skills can be learned. You got to sharpen the saw. You can sharpen the axe. You can get better and better. 4, we're going to develop habits. It's so cool. 30 to 40 days is when a habit becomes a part of your life. So if we put these things to practice, we're going to see change. And the last one, trust God to help. That may sound, oh yeah, whatever. Trust God to help. But honestly, I believe this point is a big difference maker. You go to a lot of marriage seminars, or you go to a church growth conference or something, and you go away going, I'm going to try harder. I just got to try harder. I got to try harder to make this marriage work. I got to try harder to grow. I got to try harder. Honestly, it's about trusting more. You got to trust God more to help you. You make a commitment and you do the things that you need to do, the action steps, but you really got to put it in God's. It's how we cross over, I believe. I used to love to fight. I miss it every now and then, I'll be honest. But I didn't always walk around, I love you, and want to forgive. And when I go back to my old nature, it never works. But I realize that the more I trust Him, I can let go and get out of control. And this verse we'll end on is my prayer for all of us. This is my prayer for you, that your love will grow more and more, that you will have knowledge and understanding with your love. It's a depth. This love is a depth. This love is not immature, it's insightful. He says with knowledge and understanding. That's my prayer for all of us, to grow in love, to look back in history and God, remember that series we did, those 40 days? God changed me. Let's pray together. God, I really believe what churches need is this series to grow in love. I believe our country, America, needs to grow in love. I don't think they need more theology, more oratory, more programs. People need love, genuine love, God love. And Father, I pray, and those of you sitting here, you can pray with me. You don't have to say it out loud. You can pray in your heart and follow me in this prayer. Dear Jesus, I want you to make me more loving. I want to work on my relationships. I want to learn to love you with all my heart, and I want to learn to love everybody else. I want to be known as the most loving person people know. So I'm going to make it my primary value in life, my number one goal, to learn to love you and learn to love other people, because it's all about love. Lord, I've got a lot of hurt in my heart that needs to be healed. I need to be filled with your love. I can't give to others what I don't feel. I need to feel forgiven. I need to experience your grace. I need to know your love so it can overflow out of my life into others. Replace my fears with your love. Replace my hurts with your peace. I want to learn to know you and love you, Jesus Christ, and I want to be a loving person. In your name I pray. Amen. Let's stand and worship God.
Oh, I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of night. And that you're pleasing, that I'm never alone. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Oh, I see many searching for answers, far and wide, but I know we're all searching for answers. Only you provide us know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Please tell me different. 'Cause you're perfect in all of your ways. Perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. Oh, you're perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. To is love so undeniable. I can hardly speak, and peace so unexplainable. I can hardly think as you go. Deeper still as you go. Deeper still as you go. Deeper still into love. Love, love, love. You're good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. This song is perfect, Lord. 'Cause you're perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are. You are perfect in all of your ways. God, you're perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are. You're good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are.
Now it's time to pray for our offering. Father, we celebrate giving because we learn from you that life is not just about being consumers, but making a contribution with our life. And this gift is a reflection. It's all yours. Father, make us a force of hope on the ridge and beyond that brings you glory. Please, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, before we give, what is our purpose? Building relationships forever. How do we do that? Love God, love people. So remember, every single day this week, in Christ, we always have hope. Thanks for being here.
The Lord is love, we're bringing the dead alive. Love so cold to see a revolution somehow. When love is love, we bring the dead alive. Love so cold to see a revolution somehow. Show your life, he's turning on the inside, working like a lion, God's gonna do it. He's more like a lion. A cobra rise to make the darkness hide. A baby is dead in the resurrection. Somehow, now I'm singing for freedom. This world God's not dead, He's surely alive. He's there. God's not dead, He's surely alive. He's there. Shine bright like the light. He's working, He's working, He's working like the light. He's working, He's
The sound of revival.